Hello, friend. This is Ryan Hicks of TalkToProfit.com, and I want to talk to you today about something that was very interesting. It was a conversation I had with somebody about the things they could do, and they were talking about this thing they could do, and I said, "Well, why don't you just do it then?" And they said, "Well," and they started giving a bunch of excuses, but one of the excuses they gave, and they kind of harped on, was that successful people would criticize them for failing if they tried. Now, obviously, there's some problems with that because they were already presuming they were going to fail before they even started, which is a problem. But the other thing is something that is completely untrue. They think that successful people are going to criticize them or rebuke them or mock them because they failed. That's just not what people who are successful do. People who are successful don't have time to waste criticizing and judging other people's success or lack thereof. Now, in a teaching context, in a brotherly love context, they might rebuke someone or help them and correct them and get them on the right path, but they're not going around criticizing people who are trying. It's the people who aren't trying who deserve the criticism because they aren't putting any effort in. And here's the thing. I've never met a single successful person who was successful on their first attempt. Most of them had numerous failures. Some of them had great successes and then had some failures and still had more great successes. So a successful person is not somebody who is oblivious to failing in life. It's part of the process of getting to where you want to go. But you don't stay there. What you actually find is that most successful people are very encouraging if you're putting the effort in. Now, if you're making excuses, if you're justifying why you're mediocre, if you're talking about how this can't happen and that can't happen, how things are going to fail before you even tried, yeah, you're probably not going to get a lot of pats in the back from successful people because most of them don't want to be around that loser mentality. But they're not criticizing you for failing. That's not happening. Now, beyond that, it's important that you step away from worrying about what other people think about you, what other people might say, what other people might judge, and just go out and take action in full faith and confidence that you've prayed, you believed you received, and you've sought God for wisdom, and He gave it to you. So you're not acting in foolishness. You're not acting in presumption. You know, I know many of my failings in life, or I've started a business or did this, and it didn't work out, was because I wasn't seeking God's wisdom enough. And so I just kind of did my own thing, got into a rut thinking I was doing things right, and that led to failure. You never want to lose that dependence upon God. This does not mean that you lay around your house and expect God to send you customers, expect God to do all the work for you, expect God to ship your products or provide the services for your customers. You got to do stuff, of course. But the dependence on God is that you get wisdom from Him and then you act on that wisdom because He's given you the energy to act. He's given you the intelligence to be able to understand the wisdom and then to do the things you need to do based on it. And so your worst case scenario is that you might fail. That's not a big deal. You're not going to die. You're not going to be kicked out in the streets. You're not going to go to prison. There's no severe punishment for failing. Matter of fact, most of the time, you'll learn so much from it that when you start off in the next venture, you'll become a greater success. Now, there are ways you can avoid failure in many cases, which, like I mentioned, seeking wisdom from God. Another thing is in learning from other people's failings. There are all kinds of people. You can watch interviews with people who become very successful. You can read books by them, and you can learn the things they did that didn't work out. I'll tell you something that's very, very important. Because people talk about how to avoid failing in the beginning when you're first getting started. But here's something that can help you avoid failing once you've been started, you got established, you're doing all right, and that can go to a place of failure pretty quickly. And here's the thing. I've seen so many people, and myself, and I've talked to other people who have been very successful, and when they had failings, they all had the same issue, and this is the issue I had as well. It was we pulled back and stopped doing the things we were doing that got us to success. We got complacent. We got lazy. And that is a big, fatal flaw that sometimes people get into. Because once you've gotten past all the initial hurdles of even getting the business up and going and becoming a slight success, It's easy to get in a rut. It's easy to just say, oh, this is good enough, and not to keep pushing, not to keep growing. But in life, if you're not growing, you're just dying. That's the only alternative. There is no neutral place. You must be growing. And in business, it's the same way. So you must keep doing the things that you were doing that got you to the success, maybe even double down on them and do even more of them, put more effort into them, so that way you can become an even greater success and you don't lose the momentum you're getting. It would be like being on a bicycle and you're pedaling up a very steep hill, and you pedal and you pedal and you pedal. You get up to the top, you start going down the hill, you're about to come up to another super steep hill, but you stop pedaling. You just let the momentum you had coast you up the hill a little bit, and all of a sudden you fail. That's where many people get to. They lose the momentum because they stopped pedaling. They stopped pushing. They stopped growing. They stopped innovating. And this has been seen time and time again through companies who have went out of business or went on the deep downcline, was they didn't innovate. They didn't keep growing. They just got stagnant. They did just the bare minimum to get by, but they didn't keep doing the actions they did to grow and to get to the place where they are today. So I want to encourage you. Go out there and do stuff. If you know there's something you could do right here and now, go do it. Don't make excuses. Don't worry about other people might think about you or judge you. They're not. And especially the people who actually matter as far as their opinions mattering, successful people, because people who are not successful, why would you care about their opinions? And the people whose opinions could have some import in your life, such as people who are successful, they're not criticizing you for trying. Most of those people are going to be encouraging. Now you may say, well, I know this one person, they're very mean and cruel to people who aren't on their level. There are some people like that, of course. But those people were probably that way when they were failing and then when they weren't successful too. That's just who they are. But the vast majority of successful people are not like that. They're kind, they're compassionate, they're giving of themselves and their time. But, this is very important to note, it's if they see you're actually taking action. Nobody who's successful wants to pour their heart and their time and their effort into somebody who isn't even going to try, who isn't even taking any action. I'd much rather put some effort into somebody who's failed 50 times. At least I know they're trying and I can help them get out of that failure cycle, compared to the person who never tries. They just talk. They say they're going to do this thing. They say they could do this, but they never do anything. I don't want to help that person. Not because I don't want to help them, but because I know putting any effort into trying to help them is a complete, absolute waste of my time and is going to get zero results because they're not going to do anything. You're not that person. If you have something in your heart, you've been kind of debating back and forth and wondering and praying about, well, should I do this? This is your call to do it. Take action. Start taking effort. And listen, if you have any questions, anything's rise in your business that you need help with, or you have a question about, feel free to contact me. I'm here to help you. I want to help you. I want to be a blessing for those people who are taking action and going out and doing stuff. I'm here to help you. So feel free to contact me if you want. But know this, you can do it. If you'll take action, you'll follow the leading of the Spirit, you'll seek God's wisdom in all areas, you will become that great success. And you won't have failure after failure. You'll have success leading to more success, leading to more success, and it goes on infinitely. My friend, I pray this is a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.